And a very pleasant good morning, or maybe good afternoon, good evening. Maybe it's the middle of the night if you're listening to a pre-recorded show. We are back on the air, back on Facebook Live, back on Biz Talk Radio. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. Welcome to Garden America, one and all. We do appreciate you being right there. Hope you had a good week. We're heading into the weekend, and here in San Diego, to my left is Tiger, and I can see out of my peripheral vision he's cracking up. He's laughing.
I just put the camera on John because he's leaning back in his chair so nonchalantly, just talking like on his phone.
I can see the delayed video.
It's super funny. Sorry, John, I just outed you.
No, that's fine. I can't bring up the show.
All right.
There it says live.
But anyway, we are back.
Look at that. There you are. Okay, I'm ready to go.
You know, I love it when you and technology agree. It makes you so happy.
It does.
When you conquer something. But we briefly before the show we talked about. John was talking.
I mentioned some people from the American Rose Society were over on Monday, and we were walking out looking at the roses, and after a while, they were so cold we had to go into the library.
Somebody from Wisconsin.
She was freezing.
Okay, remember last week when I talked about sometimes 40 degrees seems a lot colder than maybe 20 degrees? Mm-hmm. Kind of the same thing. She's from Wisconsin where it snows, right. But yet whatever it was at your place, 45, 50, whatever, and she's freezing.
Well, usually people from back east will come to California in the winter and they're wearing shorts and T-shirts because it's California. It's supposed to be warm.
Absolutely.
But, you know, we went from that cold weather to 100. And before the show, Tiger was talking about how bad it is for plants. You know, they get sunburned.
Well, because one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
it's just too much. You mentioned the same thing. Your analogy is, you know, a person staying inside all winter, and then the first sunny day they go outside, no sunscreen, and of course they're going to burn.
Yeah.
Are you good, Tiger? Because I see you plugging things in and.
Yeah, we had some audio issues for a second, but I think I resolved them.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll hear about it.
The people on Facebook are the first ones. Hey, exactly. Can't hear you. Where did the video go?
Yeah.
Why does he look like that? Well, he's always looked like that. It's not your video.
Don't judge me.
Don't be judgy. So we are back. It's good to be in with you guys.
It's the first official day of gardening for pretty much the whole country.
Mother's Day weekend, too.
Exactly.
You're low. Are your levels low?
You're low.
I'm looking at... this is fun. I love it when it's live. You can't hide behind anything. There you go.
Mother's Day weekend. Everybody should be gardening. I think most of the country has great weather to actually be gardening like they should, except ours is what we call extreme heat. You know,
I've told you that back east, Mother's Day kind of signals it's okay to plant your frost tender annuals and vegetables.
Which is funny because we're already done with tomatoes, and they're just
they're just getting started.
Yeah, exactly.
And by done, you mean they've all been planted.
They've all been planted. Yeah. They're in the ground.
You know,
we're thinking summer vegetables.
Speaking of Mother's Day, because you said it's time to plant, how about just a happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there?
There you go.
And all the appreciation that we have, because face it, without mothers, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have a show. So thank you, mothers.
Very true. Yes.
We do appreciate it.
Yes, wonderful job out there.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, great job. Atta boy. Way to go. Atta girl.
Good work.
Nice.
Woody, the garden walk is happening right now. Not right now, 10 a.m. at Mission Hills Nursery, always Mother's Day weekend. So I'm going to head there after the show, check that out, say hi to everybody at the walk.
You stay at the nursery as they're getting ready to do the walk? You don't walk with them?
No, I don't walk with them.
It's not a meet and greet, or it is kind of?
Yeah, meet and greet, yeah.
And then you send them on their way.
Exactly. Enjoy yourself out there. Take a look at these gardens.
Haven't we done a couple shows from the nursery on Garden Walk Day?
Yeah. You know what? The last time I think we did a show was in June.
At the nursery?
At the nursery.
It was in June at the nursery a year ago.
And it was cold. Maybe 2 years ago, but it was cold.
What was that whole June gloom?
Yeah, it was. It was cold.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you said in June. I remember an old Orson Welles tirade. It's an old radio show he was doing in England. And he was reading copy. And then he would stop every now and then, and who wrote this? Who wrote this? Anyway, one of the lines was, something happened in June. And he stopped and said, in June? Tell me how it's possible to be in June. And this poor engineer, oh, Mr. Wells, we wrote the copy. It shouldn't be in June. And he went on this whole tirade. So I don't know what the point was. Something grammatically in June.
It's just
I think
June?
he said during June.
During
it should
June.
be during June, not in June. We're not in it. It's during. It's happening. No. That's my best Orson Welles.
Well done. I don't have anything to compare it against. So,
exactly.
Tiger, if you're going to be in Spring Valley,
what?
I don't know if you're going to be in Spring Valley, but if you are, Veronica invited you over to plant her tomatoes because they're still in pots.
Hey, Veronica.
So she's not done.
Get to work. Yeah. You got to get those either in the pots or in the ground.
Hey, Joyce wants to know why we can't buy mosquito bits in California. She said she tried to order it from Summit, and they said can't ship to her area.
You know what? I think we know some people at Summit. Maybe we should give them a ring.
Well, there's nothing in the product. I mean, it's harmless.
You know what, though? It goes back to California. We were talking about this
last
registration
week, right?
and packaging. Sometimes there's claims on a package, and then they make them pull the package.
Or you haven't paid.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is the California EPA is different than the federal EPA, and they use it as fundraising, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so everybody's got to pay extra for a California registration.
So, no, I don't know why mosquito bits would be versus mosquito dunks not available. I mean, so we will try to find out for you.
I'm just looking around to make sure we're on. Video's good.
Set.
Audio. I just text Dana. Are we good? How do we sound?
Yeah. She's like, I don't know. I'm not watching you.
Because our engineers are always off site.
She's I'm out to breakfast with the girls right now.
Yeah, well, why are you bothering me?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we should be talking about the show. What do we have in store for people today, Tiger?
So we have Corey Hansen from FoxFarm going to join us this morning, talk about fertilizers, talk about soils, talk about the difference between dry fertilizer and liquid fertilizer, when to use a particular one maybe. So, it's that perfect time because, they say you should fertilize after frost, after it's cold, start fertilizing things. So now is the time of year when we start fertilizing our gardens and keeping up with that. So we're going to have Corey from FoxFarm joining us this morning.
There you go. So Facebook Live, that means questions, comments. It is warming up. Who's still cold? Any states still experiencing any cold
Alaska.
weather?
I was going to say Alaska.
That's like saying any states experiencing warm weather? Hawaii.
Yeah.
Cold
is relevant.
Yes,
Carla says that she liked the quote of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Which was
is that Proverbs?
Proverbs 31:28.
Right.
And the quote was, her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. In honor of Mother's Day.
There you go.
Big honor of Mother's Day. Couple of minutes to the first break, and then we'll get Corey on board here, barring any technical issues, problems.
I'm not very good Catholic, but Tasia participated in her school a May crowning. It's for the Blessed Mother, a crowning, I think. Like they put a crown on her head. And I was like, I never heard that term before, but it was interesting. Honor the mother.
Way to go to preface that statement. I'm not a good Catholic, however, Well, good for her and all the people
all the
surrounding the situation. So let's see here. What else?
I got something big coming up Monday. Tiger's
Do you have to wait till Monday?
Tiger's coming over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're actually.
We're gonna make a rose garden at John's house.
That was part of your schedule on your phone, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
You're going to make a rose garden?
Yep.
Yeah.
He promised.
There you beat me to it.
Hopefully he has some roses.
John beat me to that. Now, is it any theme to this, like particular roses, just everything?
In the ground?
One that he doesn't know what to do with?
No, we finally are going to start the overall landscaping, putting things in the ground.
Yeah.
So this is, phase 1. Then phase 2, Shannon wants a lawn in the back, and Tiger will do that in phase 2.
You know what? I'm all for lawns.
Lawns are very relaxing. Very green is soothing.
We have lawns all throughout the property. Go ahead, Tiger.
Which kind of grass did you want?
I think of fescue.
Would you ever just do the dwarf fescue and then just never mow it?
You know, you're talking about the triple dwarf?
Yes.
I've had that before, and it is so weak that it doesn't do well.
Yeah,
it's been my experience.
Yeah,
it doesn't repair.
Right.
Well, I hope we do well during this break.
Double dwarf, I don't have a problem with.
We're going to take a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio because they play all the commercials. The sponsors like Fertilome who take care of us, who make sure that we're on the air every week. So we're going to do that. We're going to get Corey online. Come back with Corey. It is Garden America taking a break here for Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. This is Garden America. Please stay with us because a lot more ahead of us and ahead of you too, for that matter. Well, okay, here we are. We are back live. We've been live all morning, actually. It is Garden America, in case you're just joining us. I'm Brian Main. John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. We've got Corey standing by Tiger. So we muddled through the first segment with the audio and some of the video. You're still punching buttons. Let's see if we can actually pull this off in the year 2025.
I just want to punch buttons so I can look important.
You're an important guy. Come on.
Yeah, this morning we have Corey Hansen joining us from FoxFarm Soil and Fertilizers. Corey, good morning. Thanks for being a part of the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Corey, tell us a little bit about your role with FoxFarm and what FoxFarm is to start off.
So FoxFarm started out in Humboldt County, California in the 80s by Willie, who is still our CEO. I've been with FoxFarm for about 5 years now. I am the Southwest rep, so I'm just down in San Diego. FoxFarm's dedicated to producing finest soil mixes, fertilizers, microbrewed liquid plant foods for the garden, and we do pride ourselves on our quality and consistency and our customer service.
And so, we've talked about your product here on our show for quite some time now. John's always been a big advocate for the Ocean Forest and the Happy Frog soil mediums.
Literally thousands of bags I've purchased. Literally thousands.
No, we love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that was that kind of a one of the initial products that FoxFarm released, or did they do other products before they did potting soils and soil amendments?
So that is one of the original potting soils. We also have an original planting mix. But Ocean Forest is definitely one of the original recipes, and there's a little difference between that and the Happy Frog potting soil. That's actually a question I get asked quite a bit. If you would like me to kind of tell a little difference between the two.
Please do.
Yeah, other than price.
So, the Ocean Forest, that one is, because it is an older recipe, that one doesn't contain the mycorrhiza, which Happy Frog does have the humic acid, mycorrhiza, and beneficials. But Ocean Forest has a really awesome blend, great nutrient package, a lot more nitrogen. It's got the fish emulsion, it's got crab meal, shrimp meal, kelp. So that one's going to have a larger nutrient package. And I personally I mix them together sometimes at home when I'm planting things.
Makes it a little bit more cost effective for sure.
Best of both worlds, yeah.
So speaking of Ocean Forest, in the sense of what you said, the ingredients, FoxFarms uses a lot of ocean-based, fish-based products for their fertilizers, right? And that's different from some other brands.
I can't speak too much for all the other brands, but definitely for FoxFarm, we are about the quality of ingredients. So our dry fertilizers are fish-based.
But I mean, what I was meaning at is maybe some are more manure-based or other products besides the fish-based, right?
Yeah. So we stay away from that in the Happy Frog dry.
Okay. So one of the questions I have for you this morning, Corey, is liquid versus dry fertilizers. You guys have both.
Right.
A great selection of both. First off, just tell us a little bit about what would be the biggest difference besides one is liquid and one being dry of fertilizers.
So we do have our liquid lines, and we have our, like I said, our Happy Frog dry fertilizers. There's also, solubles, which are technically dry, but those are going to, be water soluble. So I'll more so talk about the difference between our liquids and the Happy Frog dry fertilizer. A couple differences would be like the application, frequency of use, and potency. So with your liquid fertilizers, you're going to be mixing them in with water and then applying it to the soil of the plant, or possibly doing a foliar spray. Whereas the dry fertilizer, you're going to sprinkle it onto the soil and scratch it into the surface and then water it in. So then the frequency, it's going to be the liquids you're going to be using more frequently, so probably at least a couple times a week, feeding your plants, whereas the dry is going to kind of stay in the soil and work with the soil, and you only have to apply that generally once a month, right around there. And then potency-wise, the liquids are generally more potent because they are designed for immediate nutrient uptake for the plant, so you're directly feeding the plant, whereas the dries are going to be working in with the soil, breaking down, and then the plant can take in nutrients as needed.
Oh, okay. So why, you kind of did a great job of explaining the two, but why would the liquid be like a more frequent? Is it just because, like you say, you mix it with water and it kind of goes through the plant? And
so as you water, it's going to, leach it out, whereas the dry is going to stay and work in with the soil. So the liquid, you're going to be, more consistently feeding the plant to give it what it needs directly to the plant, whereas the other one's going to be there available to it as you water.
What would be a key reason why one person would choose
Yeah.
one over the other? Meaning you kind of laid it out in the sense of liquids more immediate, maybe more responsive. But is there other reasons why somebody would use a liquid versus a dry?
Yeah, generally, I think some of it comes down to personal preference and your gardening style. Are there people that want to be out mixing their liquids a couple times a week, really being involved with all that of their plant, or do you want to just be, hit it once a month and it's all happy and ready to go? We even have a time release dry fertilizer that you only have to apply to maybe 3 times in the year.
Wow.
Throughout your season. So some of those kind of depend on, how often you want to be doing that and what you're doing. Some of it will depend on the plant's feeding schedule. So if you want to have a specific feeding schedule, I would say, like, if you have your liquids, we have our what we call our base trio. So there's FoxFarm's Big Bloom, and then Grow Big, and then Tiger Bloom. And as a trio, Big Bloom you can use all the time, from a little seedling to a mature plant. That one's a lot of earthworm castings, bat guano, and that one is an organic liquid. And then you have your Grow Big, which is a liquid nitrogen. So that's when you're targeting that nice, lush, thick vegetative growth. So that's what, when the plant's in that stage, what you're giving it is the nitrogen, getting that lush growth. And then Tiger Bloom would be your liquid phosphorus. So that's for your blooms and fruits. So using a liquid, you can be a little more control over the nutrients and make nice little cocktails for your plants during what stages they're in. Whereas the dry, so we have our Happy Frog dry line. So whatever you're growing, we have a specialty blend. So if you're doing, citrus avocado, we have a citrus avocado mix. We have a tomato vegetable mix. We have a fruit and flower mix, and acid lovers. So those ones, like I said, will work into the soil and just create an optimal condition for that plant to be able to take in nutrients.
Perfect. Hey, Corey, and at that, we are going to take a break right now. When we get back, we'll continue chatting with Corey Hansen from FoxFarm Soil and Fertilizers about what to use, how to use, and when to use it.
And why would you use it?
And why?
All those things. All right, we are going to take a break. Biz Talk Radio questions, comments right there on Facebook. I'm Brian Main. Tiger Palafox got your own blend, I guess, according to Corey, right?
Exactly,
Tiger Bloom.
Tiger Bloom.
And then John's got Big Bloom. We'll return after these messages. Biz Talk Radio, Garden America. All right, back here with your friends, your garden buddies on Garden America. As we continue, glad you're joining us, learning a lot about the different fertilizers, different products that Corey offers. And again, it's always an education for us as well, Tiger.
Yeah, so Corey, before the break, was kind of saying when to use or why you would want to use maybe the difference between a liquid and fertilizer. And I think...
And we were talking about when not to use it.
Yeah. Which John has an excellent story regarding this, Corey. So, John, tell us your situation with the Grow Big product.
Well, we used to ship tomato starts around the country. And we were shipping on a Monday. This was Friday. And before I went home, I saw these tomatoes are just too small.
Yeah.
So I put some Grow Big on them, thinking, by Monday they should be perfect. Well, Tiger and I came in Monday, and the plants were double the size of the box.
Over a weekend.
Yeah.
Over a weekend, there was just no... I mean, obviously, I probably put on too much, but it was unbelievable.
Well, but the big problem is that they have to fit into this clamshell that we ship them.
Right.
And so now we couldn't fit them in the clamshell to ship them, so they were too big for us. So,
good problem to have sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But I think also, Corey, when you were talking about, the difference in users of the liquid versus the dry. I'm a reactive fertilizer person.
What's that?
And what does that mean?
Which means that
gotcha.
I look at the yard and I'm like, ooh, I should probably put some fertilizer. Like, I'm not like on a schedule. I don't go out there the first of the month and like drop down my fertilizers and things like that. I'm like looking at the plants. I'm like, ooh, they should probably have some food. And so for the liquid,
how was that raising your kids?
Yeah, same way. And so for the liquid versus dry, like I feel like the dry is very good for people that, just want to put that fertilizer down on a regular basis. They get on a schedule. It's always there, like you're saying, for the plant. For me, the liquid is always on my shelf because there's always that plant that needs fertilizer right then and there, and it gives me that ability to do that, which is nice. And I see results right away, like John's saying with the Grow Big, you can see results in a matter of days, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely, and that's actually another good point for using liquids. If you do notice a deficiency in a plant, you'd want to go out and grab a liquid to start correcting that right away. I've used to have a lot of people that talk about starting to see, maybe some blossom end rot on your tomato plants. I'd run out and grab, we have FoxFarm has an organic CalMag you can apply to it. So yeah, deficiencies and things like that, if you need the immediate results, then I would go with a liquid.
And this is going to be kind of a tough question to answer, but I mean, if somebody is seeing an issue with the plant, let's just say nitrogen deficiency. It's very easy. The plant's overall yellow, and, you kind of know what you need to do. What is a good general rule in the sense of using something like, if you're going to put down liquid on your tomato that's kind of a yellow, should it be a couple days you see results? Should it be a week or two? And then for dry, what is a turnaround time for that? Because that's another question I think people have is they like, because sometimes they don't know the problem, so they also don't know what to put on. So they put things on there, but then they don't see the plant change. So what do you kind of tell people in that regard?
Well, that is a good question because with gardening, as there's so many variables of plant size, depending on if you're talking about correcting like a little house plant versus maybe a big mature palm or a something. But time wise, I would say that you should start seeing some results within the week, within days of doing a liquid on smaller stuff.
Yeah,
that's a good question, though. I have to say that we do have a great customer service and product specialist team on our website. People could reach out to if they have very specific questions. But yeah, time wise, that is a good question. But definitely the liquids are going to be much faster than the dries will have to break down first and then get up into the plant.
Yeah, because John, you've addressed this before with like chemicals within like plants, like pesticides and things like that, where it's amazing actually how quick plants absorb things and get it to like you're saying, like a tree, right. Which is shocking me because plants to people, they always seem slow. Like oh, this takes years. This takes 10 years or whatever it is to develop. But when it comes to absorbing something like a fertilizer, like to get it from the roots to the top of a tree is just a matter of hours or days sometimes, right, John? You were saying?
Right. And excuse me. Like Corey was saying, it depends. A lot depends anyway on the plant you're putting it on.
Yeah.
Like the tomatoes reacted quickly.
Yeah. So that, plants move quicker, especially with the liquids, than we even realize it, sometimes. So it's
Hey, Corey, let me ask you this. Could a plant, let's use the term OD if you gave it both at the same time? And I don't know why you would do that, but if you gave it both liquid and the other, what would happen?
Because we're gardeners and we want to know why.
Well, that's exactly right.
Exactly.
Push the limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, definitely with the dries, you're much less likely to have any burn if you did slightly overuse something. With a liquid concentrate, you do want to pay attention to the rate on the back of the bottle, because if you overdo it on some of the concentrates and liquids, then you can start to see leaf burn or other issues arise. Like you said, ODing the plant just too much for it. So you just always want to be reading the back and applying it as recommended.
John, I think we might have halfway answered Carla's question.
Right. Carla from...
You okay?
No. Why does my voice sound like that?
Stop yelling.
I don't know what's going on. In my ears, it sounds weird, too.
You're okay. You like you have to clear your throat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it's old age. There's nothing you can do about it except get younger.
We can answer Carla's question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, back to Carla's question. Carla wanted to know if dry fertilizers would not burn the roots of new plants. And again, Corey, I think it depends on the type, right? If they're chemical fertilizers, they're going to be more likely to burn the plants than if you have organic fertilizers that have to break down. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's why talking about the Happy Frog Dry line is all organic, and there's very little chance to burn things with that one. So I use almost our whole line on stuff. I got my roses, I've got my tomatoes on tomato vegetable fertilizer, so everything's thriving, and I don't have any burning, any issues. It's all beautiful.
Hey, we have another random question. I don't even know if you have the answer to this, Corey, but it is a fun maybe segue to something.
Is this Dana's question?
Yeah. How did they come up with the name FoxFarm?
That is a good question. I believe it was a name of the road or out where Willie was, but I would actually have to.
You better find that out, Corey.
Double check that one.
Yeah, that's funny. FoxFarm. It's
a great name, but it does sound like some road out in the middle of nowhere, some land somebody purchased.
Yeah, exactly. Right out there, I live on FoxFarm. But then they really have really neat names for all their products too. I mean, Ocean Forest,
Happy Frog,
Tiger Blue.
Some of our liquids, we have our Holy Mackerel fish fertilizer. We have our Kelp Me Kelp You, which is our kelp.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So they have a lot of fun with all of the names on the products.
You got to, Corey, you got to come up with something with toad. Terrible toad or something,
I'll toss it out there.
Sure.
We have a minute before
we got about a minute before the next break,
yeah,
right?
Before the next break, and I wanted to kind of lead into the soils now because, Corey, we were talking earlier in the week. You guys have some new product blends that you're going to do, but we've been talking a lot about the fertilizers, but. To a lot of people, Fox Farms has been soils. The Ocean Forest, like we talked about, the Happy Frog, the different blends, and you guys have gone to great lengths to make sure that you have blends for people, whether it is containers or whether it is a planting mix, to be able to improve it. And when we get back from the break, I want to get into number one, what products you guys have out there for what situations, and then number two, what are some new things that we can look forward to hitting the market soon.
Okay, one more segment. If you're on Biz Talk Radio, listening on Biz Talk Radio, next segment will be the final one for hour one. We are going to come back with Corey, more information, and more questions, comments on Facebook Live as Garden America continues back after these messages, as we've said for so many decades, so many years, here on Garden America. Okay, back from that fantastic break, great break. Hope you had a good one. Lots of beads. Anyway, a little reference there. So again, if you are Biz Talk Radio, listening to us on Biz Talk Radio, this is the final segment. News will be coming up top of the hour. We come back at 6 minutes after. Facebook Live, we just go right on through. So we continue Tiger with Corey and more questions.
Hey, Corey, before we get into the soils, we did have a question come from one of our listeners named Tanya and said, I recently found some water-soluble fertilizer in my shed that was many years old. Would the strength be diminished because it is old? And I think that's something that you and I had kind of discussed earlier in the week too, about when people buy these products, is there a time frame they need to use them?
Well, for FoxFarm products specifically, we generally have a 2 to 4 year lifespan on most a lot of our products, but they do vary from product to product. But a general lifespan, I'd say 2 to 4 years.
And does that mean that like after 2 to 4 years, it's just
maybe less effective?
Maybe less effective.
Yeah, it'll be less. It'll become less and less potent, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Over that time.
Yeah, and it's just because it's a product and it begins to diminish in the package, reacting to air and all that, right? Why is it not like wine where it ages better? Yeah, can you imagine? Like, oh man, I've got this bottle of Grow Big.
You can't use it for 5 years.
It's been sitting in my garden shed for the past 25 years. I think it's perfect right now.
Remember, old wine turns to vinegar.
That's what I'm saying. You got to hit that right. Yeah,
that got to be just right.
Exactly.
Yeah, difference between aged and vinegar.
Yeah. So yeah, Corey, potting and planting mixes. First off, you guys do both, where some are meant for pots, some is meant for actually amending, right?
Yes.
So what are the products you guys have?
So we talked about the Happy Frog potting soil and the Ocean Forest potting soil. We also have one called Strawberry Fields, which is our fruiting and flowering soil. It helps promote a little more blooms and fruits for whatever you're doing. It's great for berries and melons, bulbs, and then we also have our Coco Loco, which has cocoa coir in it, and it helps retain moisture a little bit better for some of those hot areas. And that one also contains earthworm castings, bat guano, and our custom blend of soil microbes. So all they're all really great soils. They can have their own purposes, like if you're doing hanging baskets, you might want something that's going to hold the water in a little bit better than in a pot. So maybe use the Coco Loco for that. And then as far as our planting mixes, we do have our original planting mix. So that's for when you're installing some plants, putting stuff into the ground, you want to amend the soil. And our planting mix is earthworm castings, bat guanos, helps amend the soil, and we also have a Happy Frog soil conditioner, which I really love this product. It helps amend existing garden beds. So if you're, using your raised beds and then you need to freshen them up and get some more nutrients and stuff back in there, our Happy Frog soil conditioner contains humic acids and the soil microbes, so it really freshens it back up.
And go ahead.
You can also use that one, which I do. Like I have my rose wells with my roses in them, and I like to wake them up in spring with a nice layer of Happy Frog soil conditioner and just lay like a, nice layer of that around all those and water it in.
Oh, kind of like a mulch or something just on top.
Yeah, kind of just helps wake everything up and get the soil popping.
And then we were talking earlier in this week that you guys are going to also be releasing a new product soon, right?
Yeah, we are actually. I'm very excited about this. So we are releasing our FoxFarm raised bed mix. So it's going to be specially blended for fruits, flowers, veggies, herbs. It's ready for planting. You don't really have to add anything to it, except for down the road you want to, add your fertilizers. And it contains bat guano earthworm castings and helps retain moisture in the raised bed. So it's going to be an awesome product. I'm excited to use it myself.
What would be some differences between a potting soil and a planting mix and then a raised bed mix?
So I generally tell people, you can technically mix some potting soil if you're doing something in the ground or, obviously containers, but you don't want to do the other way around and use a planting mix in a pot.
Oh, no.
It's really more for amending the soil and just creating a nice, home for the plant, but it's not ideal for a container. Mm-hmm. So, usually the potting soils will have more of a perlite and some aeration and just have everything it needs for a nice soil structure for a plant living in a container.
Gotcha.
And then a raised bed mix, this one, I haven't got to use it yet, but I'm very excited. Some of them will have perlite, which will sometimes it can float to the top and then blow away. So we're just doing a little something different and just having some chunkier pieces in there.
Okay.
Not perlite, but of just chunkier Age Forest product.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, raised beds are so popular right now with people that are doing gardens. So, having that blend for them ready to go is going to be really important because, like you say, a lot of people out there go, do I put in potting soil? Do I put in just planting mix? Got to figure out what's going to work best for it. So, having that packaged product, and like you say, you guys put some of the fertilizers in there, right?
Yeah, there's bat guanos, earthworm castings. And then I would, personally, I'm going to grab some of the Happy Frog tomato vegetable and add to that down the road. And I'm also going to do a nice herb garden in it.
Nice.
Tiger, Tanya's son lives in Washington State, and he needs some of that raised bed mixed, and she's wondering if he could get FoxFarm products in Washington. Yeah,
definitely. We actually do have a dealer locator on our website. If you go to our website, you can find independent garden centers near you that carry our product.
Is that just foxfarm.com?
Yes, foxfarm.com.
Yeah, foxfarm.com. Great resource to go for all that information. Corey, thank you very much for joining us this weekend. Lots of great information. Like I said before, foxfarm.com to be able to find your products and look for them at most nurseries, right?
Yeah. Check us out.
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks, Corey. Have a great rest of the weekend and talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
That was great information, and I like our descriptions of the difference between liquid and dry fertilizer.
I think it cleared it up. A lot of people. You want to go right to the source. You want to mainline it, liquid, because basically it happens right away.
John?
I think John said this.
Did we?
I don't recall.
Maybe I thought of that
being used at all.
But we have to take a break for news on Biz Talk Radio. Come back and we can have some more fodder. How's that sound?
All right, sounds good.
All right, Garden America taking a break for news. Biz Talk Radio back with Facebook Live too. Stay with us. Okay, we are back. If you're tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, the beginning of hour number 2. If you missed any of our show, you can go to YouTube this afternoon and check out this show for hour 1 if you missed it on Biz Talk Radio. Google, even Alexa will play a Garden America podcast. Just ask Alexa to play the most recent Garden America podcast, and she will do that for you. There's also Spotify and Pandora. So there you go. You're all caught up. Do you have any questions, John?
No, that breaking news at the top of the hour was awesome.
It was. Good news. Great newscast. Very good. Very good. It's good that we had that newscast.
So I'm really excited about Tiger coming over, putting in my rose beds, finally going to get plants in the ground.
And whatever you do, don't videotape any part of it. I don't want any record of this. Don't show anything,
well, Tiger
Tiger.
said he wanted to do the radio show from my house.
When?
Well, the week that he's gone, but
week
we'll
I'm
do it
gone.
the week. We'll do it. You and I will go up and we'll do it.
You know, the key will be under the mat.
Yeah.
Now, is anybody going to be there?
When When what?
I mean, is anybody like Shannon, your sons, anybody going to be at your house, or are they all going to be with you in Idaho?
No, they'll be with me in Idaho.
So your house is empty.
My house.
Well, don't you need
My
some?
daughter-in-law will be there.
Okay, well we could she'll let us in, Tiger, to do the show.
Oh, totally sure.
That's easy. Or if she wasn't going to be there, I'm happy to house sit for you. Dana's never been there. Can you
I think
imagine?
we've invited you several times.
No, we're ready for the
You just
next
don't
invite.
want to take the. Brian just doesn't want to drive.
Here's what I'm thinking. Well, Todd, what do you mean drive? You're my driver.
That's what I'm saying.
He
Brian doesn't want to
He
drive.
doesn't like changing the trains, checking the train schedule.
I don't like the. You know what? I don't like getting held up at the fruit inspection.
Yeah, it just blows right through it.
You know. Yeah, I've kind of gotten to know some of those guys. Anyway, did we miss any questions that maybe we can answer?
Dana says that we should do the show from your patio, Brian.
Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of room out there.
Didn't we do it there one time?
I think we did. You know, we could
I don't
actually.
think so.
We
I
could
thought we
actually. I
did.
think it was before. No, maybe we didn't. Now we could do it, and we'd be surrounded by nothing but plants around us.
We'd be in the
So
jungle.
what's wrong with that?
There's nothing. The more I think about that, we could.
Yeah.
Halfway, it wouldn't be as long for you to drive.
Something to think about.
Maybe something to think about. Well, they've got to fix the. But we got a whole California state support beam balconies are a dangerous thing kind of going on.
I don't
here.
want something falling on my head.
You know. So
gracious.
when they get that fixed, that is when I will approach you to do the tiling outside. I can't do anything until they get rid of the beams.
Definitely don't want to do anything. Don't want
No.
something falling down.
Dana says we'd be surrounded by plants and dove poop.
Ooh, yummy.
Well, definitely. I got it, man. These doves we've got 4 or 5
You haven't
generations of
potty
doves.
trained them yet?
What's that?
You don't potty train them?
We're working on it. But see, here's the thing: when they're born, they don't leave. They may go maybe 100 yards away, but they all come back. And
That hanging basket isn't big enough for multiple generations.
well, they're not using that. They're actually using the birdhouse we bought them.
Oh, nice.
That
is cool.
we
They have a birdhouse?
Here's the thing: we bought a birdhouse for doves online.
Okay.
A couple of 2 or 3 years ago.
This is like an apartment
and
complex?
I'm thinking, they're not going to use this. They're going to go back to the basket. Nope, they've been using it.
What's the birdhouse look like?
It's just a little.
How big is it? Is it bigger than a mailbox?
Nah, it's actually small. I didn't think that they would be comfortable in there, or she would be comfortable, but they make it work. Maybe if I send this to you, you can post this on. Oh, here it is, right here. That's it, empty.
Oh, wow. No, that's not very big.
Do you want to put the camera on that?
Sure. Ready?
So we must have. I don't know if that's a good representation. Is that showing up?
I think so.
Yeah, they can see that.
Yeah. Just a triangular.
So we
shaped-
see the the laying the eggs.
Oh, I was picturing a little hole for
Yeah.
the birds to go in.
They have a
like
whole
birdhouse.
balcony.
No, it's we got the whole thing. Got a little chimney fireplace in there. We've really we've done it up really well.
No, it's-
They have
I
their
can
they have
see
their
it.
subscription TV, Amazon, Disney.
But they actually
Well
they
decorated.
use it. But see, all the kids now that are teenagers and young adults, they still hang around. And of course, we have the fountain, so they got a place to take a bath and drink water. It's a whole thing.
You know what's funny is you have both worlds. Inside your home is cats,
And
outside
fish,
and fish,
and fish.
and then outside you got these birds. Yeah, and fish too. That's so right. Like you have, it's almost like you've created this predator prey situation. There.
Oh, wait, one more. We have a cockatiel in the house as well.
You do?
Yes,
Oh my goodness.
Riley. It's a rescue. Did I tell you the story? A couple of years ago, I get a phone call. I'm here at work from a friend of mine. I've known them for years. She says, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, haven't talked to you in a while. What's going on?" "Well, I know that you used to have birds. You know, you had exotic birds back in the day, and friends of ours found this bird up in San Onofre by the railroad tracks. It's a cockatiel, and he's been with us for a week or so. We don't know what to do with him. We don't know. Do you want him?" I said, "Sure." Just didn't even ask Dana, didn't even look at the bird.
I see a trend in how Brian acquires things.
Even plants, right?
Like, that's what I'm
plants,
saying.
yeah.
Like you out by trash cans,
Yeah.
down by the railroad tracks. Like you just
So we
acquire
brought the
these.
bird over. We didn't know if it was a male or female. I said, "Let's call the bird Riley. That way the name works once we find out. It's a female."
My son just got a dog, and he named it Wiley.
No, Riley.
Oh,
Yeah,
this dog is wily.
like Wile E. Coyote or Wild
It was
Coyote.
wily because it was a puppy almost killed by a coyote.
Okay,
and they
perfect.
went and rescued it, and so they call him Wiley.
Perfect. Well, so this bird is not a bird for somebody who's looking for a cuddly, be on my shoulder, kissy kissy. This bird is a female, is in a constant state of wanting to see the manager. That's the best way I can describe this bird's personality. I mean, everything's on her terms, and it's fine. So anyway, it goes back to what you were talking
How
about.
does the bird get along with the cats?
Yeah.
The bird actually likes the cats. The cats are at first the cats are like, what's this? This belongs outside. Why'd
Yeah.
you bring a bird in
This
here?
belongs in my mouth.
Now it's just like, they're like, whatever. They all sleep together in the same room. They're like, whatever. Now, would I leave the house and let the bird out with the cats? Probably not.
Is the birds, what do they call it? Clip their wings?
Yeah,
so they
we
can't
clip
fly?
the wings.
Could
then
you,
and also the
could
little
you put it out
talons.
on your patio and it can just hang out on your patio? Could you?
I mean, with the wings clipped?
Yeah, like it's not going to fly away, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't, but
No.
yeah, we probably could. I don't know how the other birds would react or how she would react to the wild birds.
Yeah.
You could clip the wings of the doves.
Just have.
Isn't there a song called "Wing on
You
the
can
Wings of a Dove"?
Find out what happens when doves cry.
Isn't there a
There you go. Thank
isn't there
you,
a
John.
movie like We Bought a Zoo? And that's is that after you? And
Yeah,
Dana?
really. So you're right. The bird's outside, the fish, the bird inside, the cats. We just need a dog. Round it off.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far for you. I'd stay away from a dog. Cats, dogs, and birds all in one house.
Dana said she was kidding about the poop part. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. I got the jet spray hose out there.
We have, they're not doves. They're the smaller ones. I think there comes some kind of sparrow that make the little mud nests.
Oh,
But they make
no,
it-
those are finches, right?
Finch. Is it a finch?
Oh,
They make the mud nest.
I thought they were swallows.
Swallow.
Maybe. Anyway, they're
But,
smaller birds.
They make the mud nest up in our pool in this like cave area that we have, and it's so frustrating because it's so messy, with the mud and the bird in there, and then all that stuff just falls right into the pool right there.
And who cleans it? You or the pool guy?
I mean, we both do because it's just so messy.
Yeah.
During the time of year that they're there frequenting it, they're only there a certain time of year. But yours are there year round.
They're
Mine aren't there all the time.
no, pretty much like I'd say from February to the end of summer.
Okay.
And we can walk outside now and they don't care. They don't, the only birds that get scared and fly away are the small one, the robins, the finches.
Yeah.
But the doves are like, yeah, what? Can I help you? I'm like, hey, just going to clean up around here. Don't
Yeah.
we're not going to get in your way.
yeah, just
You
maid
know-
service coming in.
Armstrong Garden Centers had a store has a store in San Juan Capistrano,
Oh yeah.
and the swallows return there every year.
Yeah.
Because
In March, right? Is it March?
well, normally they go to the Mission, right?
Right.
San Juan Capistrano, and there's the famous song when the
Swallows return.
return to Capistrano, I'll come back
They have to
you.
pray once a year.
Yeah, but they were doing earthquake restoration on the
Mission.
and they were doing it in the spring.
They're like,
So they were
gotta find
wow.
somewhere.
They disturbed the swallows and they went over to Armstrong's, and then the following year they came back to Armstrong. So now I don't know if it's still
Wow.
going on, but they
Wow.
were going there every year. And some were still going to the Mission.
Yeah.
It's just that it was crowded when they were doing the restoration.
It is break time once again. We can steer back into plants,
Sure.
gardening. But nature, birds, cats,
Yeah.
dogs, birds, all part of nature, right?
It's all part of it.
It is a break for Biz Talk Radio. Stay with us. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox here on Garden America. Yeah, right. We have returned from the break, and we are back at it. I guess we're caught up on the questions. A lot of comments on what we're
We
talking
didn't
about.
have a chance to do a shout out to Hastam.
Thank you, Hastam. Always tunes in.
Yeah,
What is it, like probably
favorite
early evening over there?
Pakistani listener.
Yeah. I hope you're recruiting other listeners and viewers for us, Hastam. People from the nursery, so on and so forth.
Well, I've looked at our demographics, and we actually have a really big following in India and Pakistan.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Sri Lanka? It's just south of India.
I don't know about Sri Lanka.
We can We can put our crack research team on that.
Ceylon, right? Ceylon.
Yes, sir.
That's what it used to be called.
Are we going to get into that again? Istanbul, Constantinople,
No.
Myanmar.
It's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
That's what I'm saying, but the whole thing back
Yeah.
and forth. It used to be Constantinople. You know why? They had too many vowels. That was the hang-up.
They were just like, we got to change this. It's too much.
Do you know what? Why it was called Constantinople?
It has to do with...
Constantine.
The Holy Roman Empire.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say. Yeah.
That's where Constantine moved the capital from Rome to Istanbul. But then it was Constantinople back then.
Yeah, there was too much to manage. The Romans finally gave up. It's just too much to manage and take care of. And,
Yeah.
when you're that big, it's
Yeah,
like a
it's
big
just-
company corporation. Very easy to steal money.
Oh, my goodness.
It's amazing how many Roman ruins are all over the world. Speaking
Oh,
of
when we were
ruins,
in France especially, right?
oh yeah, the aqueducts.
Wow.
Remember those?
Not only do
How
I
they were still standing was amazing because those were pretty tall, right?
You're huge.
Yeah.
And yet they didn't use mortar, right? From what I recall, everything is placed.
Just perfectly
It's
aligned.
like geometry, trigonometry, algebra, whatever they use to do that. And
They
like
do
John
that with
said,
arches.
still
No-
standing.
No
Yeah.
mortar. in
No
the
mortar. That's
arches.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
And those olive trees were 1,000 years old.
at least.
900, I think they
At
said.
least. Yeah, they
Do
were
it-
cool.
It was cool when we were in England and we'd go through some of the castles and properties there, and they'd be like, "Oh, that tree, survived World War I, World War II, this war, that, and all this other stuff." It's,
The history.
to think that was around all that time ago is pretty cool.
Well, we did a hike 2 years in a row up with the same guide, I think, John, in Italy. And we got up toward the top and we looked down on this church. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Oh, yeah, this church was built in 1250.
12.
I'm like, 1250? You mean like 12, quarter after 12 last year? or 50 minutes after, whatever the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like 10 minutes to 1.
A lot of history in Europe.
Yeah.
12,
Not as much in the U.S.
We're
What,
getting
200
there.
and some
We're
odd
getting
years.
there. Couple more years, we'll be right there.
How are we doing on the
Couple more
Facebook
birthdays.
comments, John? Questions?
Veronica says it's going to go in another pot.
Oh, okay. You're getting back to the original question.
Oh, let's see. In her, I guess we need her question. She wants to know if there's any tips for her new Mother's Day rose plant. It's in a 5-gallon pot. It's called State of Grace.
Do you know about State of Grace?
I'm trying to think. I have a rose called something Grace.
Grace Kelly?
No,
Is there a Grace Kelly
Amazing
rose?
Grace.
there's a Princess Grace rose.
How about Amazing Grace?
There's
Yeah,
a
Amazing Grace.
Princess Domenico rose.
It's going into another pot. There you go. Happy Frog or
Happy
Ocean
Mother's
Forest.
Day. Yeah, exactly, right?
Well, you know what?
You can-
I would personally recommend. I used to only use Ocean Forest, but then Happy Frog is a larger bag and less expensive. But now Happy Frog has got all those mycorrhizae fungus in it, all the beneficial fungus, and it's perfect just the way it is because you don't have to mix it with anything. And I have a tendency to overwater, so the soil's the perfect consistency.
Better drainage.
Yeah, really good drainage. Didn't he say he had one, or they had something with coir in it?
Yeah.
That would hold a little more moisture. if you need-
Cocoa.
Coco Loco.
Coco Loco.
Yes,
That's exactly, yeah.
That one holds moisture. So if you're in
Yeah.
a hot area or you don't water very frequently,
Right.
it's a great soil.
Now, you have Happy Frog, don't you?
I do.
Because I remember the last time I went at Ocean Forest and you brought me Happy Frog.
Yeah.
And now I know why I like Happy Frog so much.
Yeah.
A great soil.
Carla wrote, Tiger, I bought a lovely yellow Alstroemeria at Mission Hills. I kind of manhandled it and repotting it. Any suggestions on how to revive it? Is it okay in a pot or should it be in the ground? Probably won't bloom again until next spring.
Let's go back to I manhandled it.
I know.
And now I need to bring it back to life. Or what? Carla, what did you do?
Well, like I could see an Alstroemeria, if you take it out of the pot, sometimes they can kind of break apart a little bit. So and they're very delicate, in the bracts of the plants. And
depends how long they've been in the pot, though, because they've got those thick, fleshy roots that pretty much fill up the whole pot. I mean, you can do almost anything. My experience, you can do almost anything to them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're very tolerant. Like I say, they break apart, but like you just throw it in the ground and then it also regrows. I don't know though about growing it in a pot. What do you think, John? I think it's better in the ground.
I've kept them in pots for up to 2 years before I found a place to put them. In small pots where if they put them in a bigger pot, I'm sure they would have been fine. But they filled up the small pots and they didn't look good, and you would swear the plant's dead. And then you put it in the ground, you've got that big fleshy root system, and they just come back.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you, it seems to me like they bloom on and off throughout the year. The only thing that maybe stops the bloom is really hot weather. By hot, I mean like 100-degree weather. But Carla being in Huntington Beach, I don't think she's going to have that problem.
Yeah, and then, I mean, being in a pot, though, too, isn't there the time of year where it's really nothing. Yeah. So, it looks like an empty pot, which you might not want. So I don't know what your goal is, Carla, whether it's you just want to keep it in a pot indefinitely.
Pretty much
evergreen.
Yeah. What do they call that series? Is it the Inca series?
I don't know. No.
Something like that.
But yeah, so it's just kind of like if you're just doing what John does and just buys plants and then takes years to figure out what he's going to do with it, that's not a big deal.
But I'm surprised how well they come back once they're put in the ground.
In the ground, though, I think that it'll do much better and it'll be happier if you put it in the ground.
I think Carla's ground space is at a premium.
Is it
she
worth?
Has a few pots, but just put it in a larger pot; it'll be fine. Pat Welch told me this.
We got a break coming up here. Do you want to hold that?
I don't even know if Pat Welch is still alive. Well, we discussed that. We'll come back for the break, and I'll tell you what she told me.
A Pat Welch story.
Yeah.
After this break for Biz Talk Radio. It is Garden America. 2 more segments coming up. Do stay with us. More to come. Okay, back here on Garden America. Hope you had a good break. We are eagerly awaiting the Pat Welch story, John. So let's get back to it and more garden questions and more garden comments.
Well, Pat, what was the book she wrote? Was it Southern California Gardening or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And she also wrote a book, by the way, an interesting read called All My Edens. And Pat Welch's father-in-law, I believe, was Frank Lloyd Wright.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
I bet that she had designs on him, huh?
I also saw her on Antique Roadshow.
Really?
And she had brought in a painting, a portrait, that was kind of large, almost the size of her. And they were discussing the portrait, the oil painting, on Antiques Roadshow. And they were talking about how it was by this certain artist, but because it was a portrait and they didn't know who the person was or wasn't famous, it wasn't going to have the value that another painting by this artist would have. And so she looked like she was preparing to, for the fact that it might be worth, $500, something like that. And they said, so because of that, the value is only going to be $300,000. I thought she was going to faint.
because they couldn't identify who the painting was?
Because,
the subject.
They said portraits usually don't bring as much as, landscape paintings or paintings of something else. But I think she was pleased. Anyway, back to what she told me on Alstroemeria. Yeah. She said, when the Alstroemeria are done blooming, they go to seed, right, Tiger?
Yeah.
If you grab that stem and pull it straight up, right from the ground, pull it out of the ground, it'll rebloom.
Right.
So,
they don't trim them. Like they
Right.
say don't cut it because
just
then
yank it out.
Then it doesn't do that. Yeah. Because a lot of people will use ultramarys for floral arrangements, and they go in there and they cut all the flowers like they're deadheading, or they're trimming for the. But then they
Right.
say don't do that because it'll actually encourage them.
So Carla's plant should rebloom.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, most ultramarys they're tough.
Bloom, and they bloom for a long time when they bloom.
Yeah.
I think that Inca series especially was really good because it was midway between the Princess series, which were little dwarfs, and the tall floral ones, which are kind of floppy.
Such pretty flower colors and
And
variations
they great
as well.
cut flower. They
Yeah.
just last forever as a cut flower.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about years ago, Bruce had a trivia question. And I think you were supposed to guess the plant he was talking about.
Uh-huh.
And I want to say that he said something like, "I'll still marry you."
That sounds like something Bruce would have
Right?
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get the answer to the
Yeah.
"I'll still marry you," I'll still marry you. Anyway, it's weird what sticks in your mind. That had to be 15 years ago. How we doing?
I was wondering what, sometimes I don't pay attention during the show. And my mind, it's not that I don't pay
Wait, what?
attention.
No.
I'm just thinking of other things while you
Yeah.
guys are talking. So Carla says, I knew you'd pick up on that, Brian. I'm not sure what she's talking about.
Because I think just little words, keywords, or setting up a story, because it's like she glossed over it. Yeah, because I manhandled it, not because I get out of the car.
Oh,
and
okay,
whoa, go back to the manhandle. Give me some
Yeah.
details. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
I just kind of glossed over it.
Yeah.
So she knew I would pick up on that.
It's like the character in Seinfeld, that woman, manhands.
Oh, manhands, yeah,
I
cracking the
could see
lobster.
her breaking apart the
Lobster.
Alstroemeria.
Oh yeah.
That would be funny.
Gosh.
Yeah, Rochelle also mentioned they make great cut flowers.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best cut flowers out there, right? Usually if you have a bouquet that has...
Anything in it. There's
in the
Alstroemerias in there.
Alstroemeria, like the last to die.
Yeah. What would you get for Dana in a floral arrangement, Brian? Is she a rose, carnation, sunflower?
Okay, here we go again with my carnation. Where do you even get a carnation anymore?
The florist at Albertsons.
Really?
Yeah, they have them.
They don't seem to be as popular as they used to be.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
It was the original
why
Mother's Day flower.
Is because Dana's listening and you don't know this answer?
Oh
Is
no,
that
no,
why
I
you're
would
passing over?
roses with sprinkled in with other arrangements of flowers. The roses would be the main course.
She likes roses.
She likes roses. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What about you, John? Would it be what would
Well, I
be the
think
flower?
for Shannon would be hydrangeas,
don't
right?
say it for
I'm
him.
sorry.
I want to see what he says.
Well, he knows.
Right, and I just think I made a mistake because I always try to get things ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I found this great hydrangea that I thought she would really like, and it was growing in a decorative pot.
Okay.
So I bought it, and because she works, she doesn't tour the property. So I know if I
just put it here, she'll never see it.
Doesn't
Right.
tour the I love that.
So I put it in back of the house, and I figured she won't see it, and I'll just bring it out on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I've got the card and everything. And, we had that high 90s temperature yesterday. I went out there. And I watered the plant, so the plant was still fine, but the flowers were a little
singed.
burned. Yeah.
Oh,
Was it in direct sunlight?
No, it was under the shade of a eucalyptus tree.
But the issue,
Well, that's a book.
but the issue with those
shade of
hydrangeas right now is that a lot of them are grown in such a controlled environment that you do take them, even if you just take them outside sometimes.
And this was being sold indoors as
Yeah.
a florist plant.
Mine
Yeah.
is under the eave of the stairs outside the front door, and it's doing very well.
Yeah.
Very well. Oh. Remember the hydrangeas we saw in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
They weren't doing all that well. They were cooked. They were in direct sunlight in some of the places.
Yeah. It's funny because it was a very common plant.
Right.
But like they weren't that great. Yeah.
Well, here's an FYI for you, Brian, from Veronica. Carnations are everywhere.
Yeah.
I just have to look, don't I?
I put that
do.
inflection in there. So
That's
I'm
that
not sure
sass.
that's the
You
way
put
she
that
meant
sass
it, but-
into
Or let
it.
me ask you this then.
What?
Where can I get carnation ice cream?
From
Oh, I haven't seen that for a long time.
Right. And there used to be a place on University Avenue. It was a carnation ice cream parlor. And you could also like get hamburgers and, fast foods back in the day.
You never lived in Detroit or Michigan, but
No, but I drove through there a few times.
boy, have you ever heard of
Quick.
Stroh's beer?
Yes.
Stroh's beer?
Absolutely. I think they used to sponsor baseball.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tigers. They also had an ice cream, Stroh's ice cream.
That I didn't know.
Yeah.
it was a beer ice cream.
No, it wasn't beer ice cream. It was like carnation ice cream.
Yeah.
It's Stroh's ice cream. Long time ago.
Yeah, Detroit Tigers.
Speaking of the Detroit Tigers, why are they so good this year?
I don't know.
They have the same record as the Dodgers.
Name a player on the Detroit Tigers.
Oh, God.
See? That goes along with why are they so good?
Moneyball.
Here's the thing about that.
Al Kaline?
What is this, 1950?
Mickey Cochran?
Danny McClain?
Hal Newhouser?
Did Harmon Killebrew play for the
No, he was Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Twins.
He was Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, Willie Horton did.
You guys know way too
Frank
much
Howard?
information.
Norm Cash. Frank Howard was Washington Senator.
Yeah, and he could hit.
He's a big guy. He used to be a coach for the Padres.
Yeah, back in the day.
Third base coach.
But getting back to that, it's funny, baseball, like a team will come from nowhere. The guys are just having a good year. You have to be good to make it to the big leagues.
Well, you just need a full roster of guys doing well.
Right.
Right.
And you have to have, the bottom of your lineup has to be pretty good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Detroit out of nowhere, right? Well, aren't
Yeah.
the Orioles pretty good this year?
Haven't looked
Anyway.
at the Orioles. By the way, Veronica says you can get carnation ice cream at Thrifty's.
Oh,
Where's
Thrifty
there
used to have
Thrist-
really good
where's
ice
there a
cream.
Thrift?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is Thrifty's still in
When,
business?
when we used to walk home from junior high school, you could get a single, double, or triple scoop
And
of
it was
Thrifty's
the
ice cream.
perfect
Yes. Square.
cylinder.
Or was it a cylinder? Yes.
No, it was not a square. You can't make a square scoop.
Hey, they have square watermelon.
They do.
Yeah. Rochelle asked if I remembered better made potato chips in Detroit. And I do. They also had New Era potato chips that you would buy in a tin can.
Oh, fun.
And they, as a kid, they were my favorite because they had a logo and it said on the alkaline side. And as a kid, I thought it said on the alkaline side.
I was just going to say that,
Yeah.
right?
So I always wanted my mom to buy New Era potato chips.
And with that note, that's the end of the sports segment here on
Yeah.
Garden America. We've got one more segment coming up before we say goodbye. Do stay with us on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. This is Garden America. Okay, we have made it. This is it. Final segment. If you're watching us, listening to us live Saturday morning, could be any time, though, because the show is pre-recorded. And, of course, this afternoon posted on our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. So that's how we do it.
Rochelle says that Thrifty's now Rite Aid. Is that what
You know
happened?
what? She's right. Yes, became Rite Aid.
So if you go to Rite Aid, maybe you can get carnation ice cream.
There you go.
See, we just
You just connect all the dots.
toss
there
it
for
out
you.
there and people will tell you.
Yeah.
Somebody always has the answer to something.
Well, is anything coming into season because we're going out of we're done with winter annuals,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and winter veggies, and I think we're finishing up with summer veggies, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we're at that weird time where people are really thinking, for us, people are like, oh, this is spring. Because I think a lot of that whole publicity and marketing goes out right now for spring. In reality, for us in Southern California, spring is in March. But, so a lot of people come in and they're, looking for the tomatoes, looking for the vegetables, looking for the petunias. And like you say, John, we're actually wrapping up all that stuff. We really only have about 4, maybe 5 weeks left of that before we get into our summer stuff anyways. But I will say this year, the petunias, they've switched over from the classic annual petunia to more of that wave petunia style. Mm-hmm. So they have a lot of different varieties of petunia flowers, which is really neat. And
what
they look
about
pretty.
crazy tunias? Do you guys carry crazy tunias?
Yeah. Like the one, So it's that, I think petunias have really hit the market strong in the past few years because of these changes they've made. It's not the classic like annual petunia, big bloom.
Yeah.
You know, just that's what they are. You know, they're longer blooming. You know,
They
they're
seem
more
to be a little more
controlled.
substantial plants. Too.
Yes.
You know, the others
Stronger.
Right. The others were kind of flimsy.
Yeah, so a lot of really neat, you know, the blotchy ones. You know, we'll see if that glow in the dark one ever hits really like the market, you know, kind of a thing. But there's all kinds of really neat stuff out there still in the petunia world. But we are switching over to more of the summer plants. So the vinca, you know, the New Guinean patience and things like that.
One of our listeners had ordered one of those.
Oh, I wonder how it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that would be
Can't remember. It might have been
who
Lisa.
it was. Can't remember
Lisa
who it was.
in Reading.
But that would be fun to have. I mean, just novelty, kind of unique. I don't know how many, you know, how it would grow or how long it would last. Be kind of cool. I would take really good care of that though, because I'd like to try to like make
You
sure
could use them to replace the solar lights along your driveway.
Oh, there you go.
Use a petunia border.
Oh my
light
gosh,
up
how
at
cool
night,
would that be to
right?
have a whole driveway lined with those, and
Yeah.
then people drive up and there's just all these glowing
Now, if you put a
plants?
black light over it, would they still glow?
I think so, because isn't that kind of like what's in there that makes it
Phosphor-
glow? Is
what is
that inflorescence kind of stuff?
Yeah.
An oxymoron.
An oxymoron is somebody who drops out of Oxford University.
I was thinking of
Right?
black light. Black light.
Yeah, we had black.
It'd be
yeah,
like dark light.
we had
maybe.
black lights and black light posters back in the day.
No,
I
he's
told you
talking
I met-
oxymoron, black light.
Met a guy from Stanford one time who was trying to make light heavier, and I was joking around with him at lunch, and I just said, "Well, I said if you made it heavier, it wouldn't really be light anymore." He didn't think it was
Didn't
funny.
think that was good.
Yeah,
No.
See, because those guys,
Yeah.
they're just, you know, I bet he had a messy desk.
I don't know. He was neurophysicist. Remember the story I told you? Do you remember his name?
He fiddled, right?
No,
While Rome burned?
no.
What?
Go ahead. It's a thing on Neuro. Go ahead.
Yeah, his name was John Bagnasco.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh, I remember you guys met each other.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't think it was funny, huh?
I thought it was hilarious.
I wonder.
But that's the difference between a horticulturist and
John
a
Bagnasco
neurophysicist.
and then neurophysicist.
yeah, but
John
the
Bagnasco.
joke you made was in his ballpark.
Yeah.
It was like it's what you do. It's a great joke.
At the time, I thought the same thing. Was Lisa? She's going to take a picture when they're in bloom. She said she just potted them.
What? Though the glow in the dark
petunias. Yeah.
petunias.
Yeah, she said she got 3 plants and 2.5-inch pots.
They haven't bloomed yet.
No,
'Cause-
she just got them. Just
she
potted them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That is going to be something we'll have to highlight. We'll do a whole newsletter around you, Lisa.
Yeah.
If you get some good pictures of that, see how they go.
Well, we're on the show every week, so all these things flow together to us, but some people never, have missed a few shows. So,
Yeah.
so Linda in Reading also wants to know if you can explain the glow-in-the-dark petunia.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it a few months ago, and what it was some breeders introduced the same. What is it? In plankton in the algae.
The same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Was it
same
in-
DNA
is it in-
from plankton.
Why can't I think of the name of-
fluorescent glow, right?
You
Yeah,
thought
they-
incandescent? Is that what?
No, that's a light bulb.
Right.
Why? It's what happens at the beach at night. Why
Well,
can't
yeah, I
think
know
of
what
it?
you. Yeah, when you stir the water up,
Phosphorescence.
Phosphorescence.
That's
There
what
you
it
go.
is. They took the same phosphorescence from
The gene
the gene and the
spliced
all that
it
stuff.
into a petunia.
Yeah, and the petunia is a white flower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of from the pictures I saw, the foliage was a little bit lime greeny, but the bloom or the whole plant grows glows. Can you remember? I think it was the plant.
Could be.
I think it was the plant, and
Yeah.
I don't think the bloom glowed. This is very difficult to speak today.
Yeah, but here's the good part.
I've had the problem all show.
The show's almost over. They've done the
Good.
same thing to fish. They have glowfish. Have you seen those?
Well, they've always
Red,
had glowfish.
They're like red, green, blue. Same. You put them under a black light, and you can see them. They glow. They're called
Because
glowfish.
they put highlighter in them.
Now they got a bunch of mad scientists back, in some,
Take
laboratory.
little needles and inject them into the fish.
All right, that's it. Is that all?
Tanya says, Tiger, that it's bioluminescence.
Bioluminescence. That's what it is.
What did I tell you?
Bioluminescence.
Everything we have
Thank
pondered
you, Tanya.
today that we couldn't think about, our viewers and listeners have given us the answer.
Yes.
So on that note, we're going to say goodbye before we can't think of something else.
We'll come back next week.
We'll come back, yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good week. Thank you for
Happy
supporting
Mother's
us.
Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Thank you to Fertilizer for sponsoring us as we enjoy Mother's Day together all weekend into next week, if that's the case. Take care. We'll see you next week here on Garden America.